In December 2023, I shared a Human Rights Watch post because Human Rights Watch found that Israel was using starvation as a weapon of war in Gaza. It is now June 2025 and Palestinian children are still being starved. We see their images every day, emaciated, skeletal, scavenging through the rubble for scraps. This unspeakable suffering is not accidental, it is engineered. Deliberately starving and killing children is a war crime. Today the court has found that punishing someone for sharing facts about these war crimes is also illegal. I was punished for my political opinion. I won't be taking any questions. I'll have more to say in due time. Thank you.
Hello everyone, welcome to MzansiOz Diary, Justice Unmuted. Today we're going to talk about Australia. We're going to talk about the Federal Court landmark ruling in the case of Antoinette Latif versus ABC. A case that speaks volume about race, media, political speech, and workplace fairness. As always, I am speaking from lived experience and advocacy perspective, not in a clinical or healthcare capacity. This is public commentary, not health advice. Antoinette Latif was hired by the ABC, Australia's national broadcaster, to present a radio program for 5 days back in December 2023. By midday through the week, she was taken off air. Why? Because she previously shared social media posts that were critical of the Israel military actions in Gaza, including reposting a human rights video that accused Israel of using starvation as a weapon of war. The Federal Court of Australia ruled that this was unlawful. Under Section 72, subsection 1F of the Fair Work Act, it's illegal to terminate someone's employment because of their political opinion. And that's exactly what the court found happened here.
Ms. Latif deposes that immediately after she was terminated, she felt shock and humiliation. The termination of her employment, including the allegation that she had engaged in editorial wrongdoing and breached a management directive, was widely publicised. Ms. Latif felt that this affected her reputation and perception of her integrity, causing her great distress. Ms. Latif gave evidence of trouble sleeping, heightened anxiety, panic attacks, and adverse impacts on her personal relationships. It is apparent from observing Ms. Latif in the witness box that the termination of her employment and the circumstances in which it occurred caused her great distress and continues to do so. I consider that the appropriate award of compensation for Ms. Latif's non-economic loss is $70,000. I will make the following orders. The court declares that the respondent, the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, contravened Section 772, subsection 1 of the Fair Work Act 2009 by terminating the employment of the applicant, Antoinette Latif, for reasons including that she held a political opinion opposing the Israeli military campaign in Gaza. I will declare that the ABC contravened Section 50 of the Fair Work Act by contravening clauses 55.2.1a, b, c, and f, 55.2.2 and 55.4.1f of the ABC Enterprise Agreement 2022 to 2025. I will order that the ABC pay Ms. Latif compensation of $70,000. I will order that the matter be set down for hearing to determine the question of whether the ABC should be ordered to pay any pecuniary penalty, and if so, in what amount, on a date to be fixed. of a order that the parties are to agree upon the procedural steps necessary to bring the question of any pecuniary penalty to a hearing and provide a draft order.
The judge was clear that ABC did not remove Lattuf because of impartiality or performance concerns, but because of her political opposition to the Israeli military campaign in Gaza. That serious violation of employee rights. The court ruled that this was unlawful. Under Section 7772, subsection 1F of the Fair Work Act, it's illegal to terminate someone's employment because of their political opinion. And that's what exactly the court found happened here. What else did the court say about this case? The ABC also breached its own enterprise agreement, a legal contract with its staff. Lattuf wasn't given any chance to respond to misconduct allegations. There was no due process, no fair investigation. That's a violation of Section 50 of the Fair Work Act, which requires employers to follow their own disciplinary procedures. The consequences for ABC: the court awarded Antoinette Latif 70,000 Australian dollars in compensation. Wait a minute. Yes, I know it's not a lot of money, but what this is for, it's for non-economic loss. That is including reputational damage, emotional distress, and the ongoing psychological toll of being publicly removed from her role. And that's not the end, because there is an upcoming separate hearing. That separate hearing will now consider whether ABC must pay additional civil penalties for their actions. So ABC is the public broadcaster. They have already spent lots of money, according to the Senate inquiry, fighting this unlawful behavior in the workplace.
So I just wanted to firstly ask you about the Lattuf litigation. Could you provide the committee with an update on that dispute, which is obviously garnering a lot of headlines at the moment?
Yes, Senator. So the case is still before the courts. We have closing submissions Thursday and Friday of this week.
So can you please provide the committee with an update on this litigation?
Senator, that is the update I'm able to provide at this point in time. The case is still before the courts.
Are you able to provide an update on the legal fees spent by the ABC to date?
Yes, Senator. I am able to provide an update on that. In answering that question, I would like to highlight that the ABC has tried on multiple occasions to settle the matter on a commercial basis. This is without admission of liability. The ABC maintains that it did not terminate Ms Latif's one-week casual contract unlawfully, but we do obviously understand that this is an impost on public funds, and that is why we have tried to attempt to settle the matter. So I just want to provide that context, and I can provide the amount spent today is $1.1 million.
And can you provide a breakdown as to that expenditure?
I don't have that in front of me, sorry, Senator.
Is that external legal costs? Does that include your own internal legal costs?
Senator, that would be external legal costs.
And does that include all of the counsel in relation to, who are appearing on behalf of the ABC in these proceedings?
Yes, Senator.
And what's the total estimated cost of this matter, do you believe, based
Senator,
on
I'm not sure at this point in time.
the proceedings? You haven't done any forecasts?
Senator, I'm not sure at this point in time of the total estimated cost.
So, what has the ABC learned in relation to this dispute? And in asking that question, I also raised concerns about the ABC's apparent failure to properly do its due diligence before Ms Lattuf was hired.
Senator, I don't think at this point in time it would be appropriate for me to go into detail in response to your question. The matter is still before the courts. We will, of course, be in a position post that and once we have the judgment to be able to talk at length in response to that question.
They didn't settle for it outside of court. They went to court and fought this stuff with the taxpayer dollar, and they've lost massively. This sets a legal precedent, this judgment, because it reinforces something. The ruling makes it crystal clear. Employees are protected not just holding political views, but also for expressing them, even online. So employers can't just resent someone's duties and pretend it's not a termination, especially when that duty involves public-facing roles like presenters or education or educator. Any public role that you expected to be there and you have an obligation and contract with the viewers to provide an opinion or education, they can't just put it off. So the employer cannot just rescind someone's duties and pretend it's not a termination. If you have enterprise agreement or contract that spells out a fair disciplinary process, your employer has to follow it to the T. You can't be punished behind closed doors like a little kid. Nah, it doesn't work that way. So why this matter? For migrants like myself, people of color, and professionals who care about justice, this is big deal. That's why I'm talking about here at MzansiOz Diary. Justice Unmuted. Many of us walk a very tightrope when we speak about Palestine, about racism, about injustice. We worry, will we lose our job? Will people say I am too political? But this judgment says your political opinion is protected. And if your employer punishes you for speaking up, they could be breaking the law, depending on the circumstances, of course, circumstances. Final thoughts. This case is about more than one presenter. It's about the right to speak the truth. And even when it makes people uncomfortable, it's about recognizing that advocacy is not misconduct. It's about holding the powerful institutions accountable when they silence voices that challenge the status quo. Whether you're in media, whether you're in media work, you're a migrant, healthcare professional, this is your reminder, your voice matters, and your rights are real. If you felt silenced, marginalized, or punished for speaking up, you are not alone. You are not without protection. I'll be back soon with a deep dive into justice, policy, and lived experience. Until then, stay safe, stay vocal, stay unmuted.